And we are live. Welcome to today's brief dynamic mobility and sand bell bag workout. All we're going to need for today's session is these bodies and an intention to move and feel amazing in these bodies. Your Yuren yoga mat, I'm using the foldable double wide. I love the grip on the bottom of this thing. It really gives me some amazing traction. And obviously I love the size. It allows for all of us to get after it here as a family. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna kick things off with a dynamic mobility routine and then we'll go into the sand bell bags. Oh, in addition to the yoga mat, today I'm gonna be using these sand bell bags. Awesome, versatile tools, easy to transport, easy to store. It's one of my favorite home workout tools as well. They come in a variety of sizes. The girls are working with 6 pounds. This one is 15. There's a 25, and there's many more sizes in between. So we'll be using that for a few of the movements. If you don't have them, or if it's too much, you just go body weight. Everything that we're doing here today, a lot of it we can do body weight. So let's get started. We're gonna kick things off with some dynamic mobility. So we're gonna work here out of a shoulder width stance. The left toes are gonna point up. We're just gonna hinge at the hip. Así mismito, yep. Sweep and stand tall. Gaia, ven pa' acá. Ven pa' acá. Hinge and stand tall. And in this particular exercise, you can bend the knees, but the idea is going to be to keep the back relatively flat, the spine relatively neutral, and we're just looking to create space in the hamstrings and the calves, and just begin to synchronize movement to breath. Exhaling as you hinge, and just taking sips of air in between your reps. Awesome. From there, let's work a knee tuck. So we're just gonna give yourself a big hug. Bringing one leg up at a time. Think about bringing the knee toward the armpit and really pointing those toes up. Sí, date un abrazo, date un abrazo. Bringing the knee as high as you can here. Exhaling, regulating your exhale as you bring the knee into the chest. Taking sips of air in between your reps. Venga, ven pa' acá, mira, aquí te tengo tus cosas. Ponte los zapatos de Minnie, ponte los zapatos de Minnie. And a trick here that I use to help me maintain stability is thinking about actively pushing this standing foot into the ground, engaging my thigh as I oppose that intention, oppose that force with pulling the knee as high as I can. And those two opposing forces give you some good stability. From there, let's go into a hip. So we're gonna go ankle over the opposite knee and then just have a seat right into the hip. Hold here for a beat and then stand tall and we'll switch. And the idea here is going to be to allow the descent to come from the hips, knees, and ankles while we keep the chest up. So just avoid dropping the chest. Even if you can only go down an inch, we'll take it, whatever that is. And at the same time, we're working on that balance, on that single leg stability. So I like to think about squeezing the floor with my toes and almost pulling myself down, so that really engages my hamstrings and my glutes. So we're firing up that posterior chain, which is very important in anything we do. It's the engine of our body, our glutes, the stability of our body and our spine and our hamstrings. So just a couple more reps here. Regulating the exhale as we sit, pausing, and then pushing tall. Very nice. Okay, let's go into an easy rotational pattern. So I'm gonna take a wide stance, and I'm just gonna reach for the floor with the left hand, and then I'm gonna go ahead and rotate up with the right hand. Exhale all the air, and then we're just gonna switch the hands. Keeping the eyes on the overhead hand. Really thinking here about pushing into the floor with whatever hand is on the floor actively, and then reaching up toward the ceiling with the opposite hand. And again, what you want to do is create tension, through those two opposing forces, the pushing into the floor and the reaching as high as we can to really maximize on that stretch, on that rotational stretch. Great to kind of warm up the spine. This is even great for digestion. Marvelous. Okay, shift here a couple of times from left to right if it's available. That always feels really nice on the hips. So just shifting left and right, using your hands for support if you need to, but just opening up the hips here a little bit. Nice. One more nice forward fold. Okay. All right, so let's get to it. Working with my sand bell bag, I'm using the 15. Amira has the 6-pound. We're gonna go shoulder width stance, and I wanna think about tucking the hips to make sure that my glutes and abs are engaged. This is gonna protect the lower back. So making sure we tuck the hips, engage, and then we're gonna grab the sand bell bag here by the side, and the idea is gonna be to wrap it around, bringing it all the way around the head to the front, and then right back to that starting position. Thinking about bringing it all the way back to the base of the neck. This top part of the arm should be totally vertical. And then rinsing and repeating on the opposite side. Keeping the hips tucked, really maximizing on this overhead space, exploring and seeing where exactly we have space in the shoulders. Where we may be a little bit tight, need to back off. But just creating space in the shoulders, stretching out the lats. You know, if we sleep on our sides or find ourselves in rounded positions a lot, this is great also to offset any of that and help out with posture. So just a few on each side here, I would say between 6 and 10 on each side, right? Depending on how much space, how much tightness we have. Okie dokie. And then from there, let's grab it in this big bear hug position, squeeze it tight to the body. Feet are gonna be just outside of shoulder width or shoulder width apart, and you can point the toes out slightly. And we're gonna bring the hips right in between the heels. And we're gonna find this fully squatted position. You wanna pause here for a beat, and then regulate the exhale as you stand tall. Take a breath, hold it on the way down as low as you can go. Pause here. Maintaining nice posture, and then evenly push through the bottom of both feet to stand tall. Control, hold, and then regulate the exhale to stand tall. So again, take that breath, hold on the way down, pause, and then regulate the exhale on the way up. Working with the space that's available to you in your body. Making sure that both feet stay nice and flat to the best of your ability. And maintaining a nice neutral spine. If you do find it tough to keep the feet flat, you can work from an elevated position and essentially just working a toe squat. But this, in an event, it presents its own challenges. At the top of the movement, you're gonna find yourself in this tippy toe position. So it does invite you to use a little bit of your balance. Good. And then from there, let's just go into a simple row pattern. So again, we got the sand bell by the side here, shoulder width stance, toes are forward, and we're gonna hinge at the hip here and try and find this flat or tabletop position in the back. So back is parallel to the floor, slight bend to the knees, and we're just gonna row the sand bell right to the belly button. Pause here for a beat, and then come back with control. Regulating the exhale as I pull toward my belly button. Taking sips of air in between my reps here. And I really want to think about initiating, retracting the shoulder blades, and then following through with that pull. Keeping the elbows very tight to the body. And not allowing for any rounding to take place in the spine. If you feel that happening, get out of the spine a little bit, so pin the shoulders back and down, engage the midsection. Maybe you stand a little bit further up, but continue to row toward the belly button. 5 more here. 5, 4, 3, working at a controlled tempo. 2, and 1. Awesome. All right, so let's go into some split squats. So I'm gonna set up here out of this side position so you can check my alignment out from the side. But I'm gonna start with my right leg back, and I wanna think about setting up on the ball of the back foot, high on the ball of the back foot, really engaging my right glute. I wanna think here about tucking my hips, and then holding the sand bell again tight to the body. We're gonna bring that backside knee to the floor, pause, and then push tall. Taking that sip of air in here, holding it on the way down, pause, and then regulating that exhale on the way up. keeping that front foot nice and flat on the floor, and then working high on the ball of the back foot. Maintaining nice posture here, so shoulders over the hips, and I got a good bear hug grip on my Sand Bell bag. If this is tough, just put the Sand Bell down and just go with body weight. If that's tough, you can work with a support, so a broomstick or a chair or the wall, whatever. You can also reduce the range of motion to make the exercise a little more feasible. And then we'll switch sides and work for about another 8 to 10. ¿Qué pasó, mamá? Tú te puedes poner el zapato. High on the ball of the back foot, tuck the hip, control it on the way down, and then press tall, smooth. Getting as much range as you can, pausing, and then controlling on the way back up. You can also hold the Sand Bell bag. As you notice, I got an offset grip here, which quite frankly simulates me holding my kid very, very effectively. So that's one of the things I like about this tool is that, it's versatile. You can use it in ways that reflects your daily activities. And maybe you can switch it to the other side for a couple reps. Big breath out. Maybe you hold it out front for a couple reps, right? Maybe you hold it up top for a couple reps. So you can change on the fly, which is essentially what life is. So I like that a lot. Okay, let's shake that loose a little bit. Working with the 15-pound Sand Bell bag, shoulder width stance, tuck the hips to protect the back. All we're gonna do is raise the Sand Bell bag out front, over the top, bend into the elbows, bringing the sandbag behind the base of the neck here, extend, and all the way into that starting position. Regulating my exhale as I lift the bell, taking sips of air in between my reps, excuse me. Working at a slow controlled tempo here, keeping the alignment in my hips, keeping the alignment with the shoulders stacked on top of the hips, getting as much range as I can, bending the elbows, pausing, regulate the exhale as I extend, and then just work with control back into that starting position. So the breath is really important in a movement like this where you got a lot going on. It's important in everything, but if you're working this at a controlled tempo, exhale, sip of air in here, hold, exhale, and then again, regulating that exhale as I exert the force to control the sandbag. Couple more, all the way, find the stretch, hold, and then just control it on the way back into that starting position. Control, hold. And this is a phenomenal way to, apart from get into the core and the back muscles, but shoulders, triceps, I mean, that's a very good one to do. Okay, one of my favorites to do with this is gonna be the swing. Great grip to use for this next one is gonna be grabbing by the very top of the bag. With both hands, you can get a really good grip and just let the sand fall to one end. We're gonna work with a stance slightly outside of shoulder width and the toes can point out away. And right away, you wanna think about three things. Head in a neutral position with the spine and squeeze the armpits shut. And then we're just gonna begin to bend at the hips and knees, sending the hips back and the eyes toward the feet. And then use a forced exhale to go ahead and drive the hips through in a very explosive fashion. Using the core to stop us right when the shoulders are directly over top of the hips. So that's a big element of the kettlebell swing or any type of swing, is making sure that we decelerate at the appropriate time to protect that lower back. Really letting the momentum of the sandbag drive my hips back and my eyes down. Bam, and then just finishing with that nice powerful swing. 5, 4, 3, 2, marvelous. And you'll notice I was keeping my elbows tight to my body there. I much prefer that with any type of swing than a long swing because number one, it helps me stabilize more and keep the exercise in my glutes and in my hamstrings. Helps my core keep the load stable. And number two, it more closely relates to how you would clean. Whether you're going single or double arm clean, it just more closely relates to how you're working the clean. So for me, it has more value keeping the elbows tight to the body. Okay, let's go into some curls. So, and as you can see, my heart rate went up a little bit there. And that's not the kids, it's those swings. Grabbing from the side here. Feet are back in that shoulder width position. Tuck the hips. Squeeze the floor with your toes. Pin the shoulders back and down. And then it's just a simple curl, right? Fully extending the elbow, pausing, and then just working up with control. Regulating the exhale. As you pull the weight up toward the shoulders, and just taking sips of air in between your reps. 10, 9, good. Pinning the shoulders back. 8, head in neutral. 7, 6, 5, really working that grip. 4, 3, sonríete, mami. 2, and 1. And then from there, let's start a floor series. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up here flat on my back. It's another one of my favorite patterns with the Sand Bell bag. Feet are gonna be right around shoulder width apart, toes forward, and you wanna set the heels up at about fingertips length away from you when you're laying flat. From there, Sand Bell bag goes on the hips. This is optional. We're gonna press the lower back into the floor and drive the hips up toward the ceiling. You wanna pause here, really engage the hamstrings and the glutes, squeezing the floor with your toes, and then we're gonna bring the hips back down. Regulating that exhale as you drive the hips up toward the ceiling, taking sips of air in between your reps, getting a little pause at the top of each rep, and again, maintaining that pelvic alignment. So when the back is flat against the floor, the lower back should be flat against the floor as well. And you're looking for a nice 90-degree position in the knees at the top of the movement. And if you're working with resistance, whether it's a dumbbell or a Sand Bell bag like this, you want to use the hands to help keep the bag or the resistance right on top of the hips. Let's get 5 more here. 5, nice and easy. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Awesome. Okay, so we're gonna stay in this position for the next exercise. All we're gonna do is grab by the side and work into a flat press. So keeping the elbows tight to the body, just bringing the bell down toward the chest, and then regulating the exhale as we press away. Working at a controlled tempo here, really squeezing the chest to move the weight. So at the bottom position, you want to start by squeezing the chest, and then you follow through with the hands, with the arms, but consciously maintain that connection to your chest muscles. 5 more. Big breath out. 5, control. 4, pressing that lower back into the floor. 3, 2, and 1. Awesome. Okay, and then from there, we're gonna stay in this position for one more exercise. All we're gonna do is bring the knees up to 90 degrees, feet and knees stay shoulder width apart, and we're gonna point the toes up toward your face. And from there, press the lower back into the floor. That is critical. And we're just going to bring the Sand Bell bag behind the head to a hover, and then right back with control. Nice and easy, making sure that the knees and feet and hips stay in alignment, and making sure that we're pressing that lower back into the floor. Working at a slow, controlled tempo here. Really working that pause, and then regulating that exhale on the way back up. Awesome way to really become aware of and engage your core. And in doing so, become really, really aware of your pelvic alignment and keep your lower back safe. Good, a couple more here. Get a little hover, pause. 1 more. Nice. Alrighty, here we go. And we have 2 more exercises. The first is gonna be a rotational lift. So we got 2 more core exercises. So working from a half kneeling position, right knee is gonna go down first. Working with the Sand Bell bag, I'm gonna grab by the side and hold it out in front of my right leg, the down leg. And the idea is going to be to lift and rotate up and across the body. We're gonna pause here, and then just come back with control. Regulating the exhale as I lift and rotate. Keeping the eyes on the sandbag. And really working to maintain this nice stable position with a dynamic load. That means a load that's always changing as it relates to the sand. And working through different planes of motion. 2 more here, and then we'll switch sides. Big lift, big rotation, big breath, hold, and then own it on the way down. Awesome, let's switch sides. So here, left knee's gonna be down. The load starts out in front of that down leg, and then I'm gonna lift and rotate, hold, and then control it on the way down. Again, staying in touch with the breath. Ya desbarataste. Good, a few more on this side. ¿Qué pasó? Espérate. ¿Quieres jupa? And just to show how applicable that bag is, look how similar it relates to a kid. Tú quieres uno? Okay, and let's get one more. Let's go into a high plank position. And we're just gonna work a drag, a pull through. So working from a high plank position, I'm going to drag the sandbag from left to right here. Thinking about just keeping my alignment of the shoulders and hips. So not allowing for the hips to drop or to hike up on me. Squeezing the glutes here and keeping that pelvis nice and tucked. And then just resisting the urge to rotate as I work from an unstable surface here going left to right. Now, if this is tough, just find your high plank, lock it in, and let's just work for another 20 seconds. Regulating your inhales and exhales. Trying your best to keep the exhales a little bit longer than the inhales. So sips of air, and then just regulate the exhale and control. Keeping the head in a nice neutral position here, and really pushing and pressing into the ground with those hands, engaging all the way up through the shoulders, the midsection, the hips, the glutes. For another 5, 4, 3, 2, and time. Woof, not too shabby, beautiful people. Give yourselves a big round of applause. As you can see, I got a pretty good sweat worked up here in just 20, 25 minutes or so in a very simple fashion from home with a couple of kids, a couple of very simple tools. Again, just an intention to move and engage and feel great in the bodies. So it is very much possible. It's just about making that conscious choice and building the habit. I hope you guys found this session useful and engaging. I'd love to hear your feedback, so please be sure to leave it in the comment section below to inspire future videos, and I look forward to seeing you in the very next video.